Welcome to the quiz 5.6, 5.8 solutions. Let's go ahead and get right into it. First thing you need to be able to do is to compare. So let's look at the first triangle on the left. Compare PR to SV. Since PR is opposite the angle 127, that's the larger angle. SV is opposite 102. Now, the other two sets of sides are congruent. VT is congruent to QR, and TS is congruent to PQ. So by the Hinge theorem, this means that segment PR is greater than segment SV. Looking at the two middle triangles, we need to compare the two angles, angle KJL with angle MJL. Well, the opposite side to KJL is KL, which is 4. The opposite side to MJL is LM, which is 6. Now, since LM is the larger of the two sides, and since we have two sets of sides which are congruent, JK is congruent to JM, and JL is congruent to itself by the reflexive property, this means that angle MJL is larger or greater than angle KJL. Finally, we need to find the range of values for x. The first thing that has to be true is that segment AB cannot be 0 or negative. So what we have to do is make sure that 4x minus 13 is greater than 0. Second thing, we do a comparison. 4x minus 13 is opposite of the 55 degrees, whereas 15 is opposite of the 68 degrees. This means that 4x minus 13 is less than 15. So we establish this. 4x minus 13 greater than 0 means that x is greater than 3.25. 4x minus 13 being less than 15 means that x is less than 7. So the range of values for x are from 3.25 up to 7. Using the Pythagorean Theorem, find the value of x, give the answer in simplest radical form. The two legs are 5 and 9. The hypotenuse is x. Remember, the hypotenuse is always opposite the 90 degrees. So we establish the Pythagorean theorem. 5 squared plus 9 squared is equal to x squared. Squaring the numbers and adding, we get 106. Now having to take the square root, x is equal to the square root of 106. This is already in simplest radical form because 106 has no perfect squares as a factor. So we're finished. In the second triangle, find the missing side length. Tell if the side lengths form a Pythagorean triple. Explain. The hypotenuse is 11. 9 is one of the legs, so we'll call the other leg x. Leg 1 is 9, leg 2 is x, hypotenuse is 11. So we create the Pythagorean theorem, which says 9 squared plus x squared equals 11 squared. 81 plus x squared equals 121. Subtracting 81 from both sides means that x squared is 40. So x is the square root of 40, which is approximately 6.32. Now, since the square root of 40 is a decimal number, this means it cannot be a Pythagorean triple. To be a Pythagorean triple, you have to be 3 positive whole numbers that obey or satisfy the Pythagorean equation. Tell if the measures 10, 12, and 16 can be the side lengths of a triangle. If so, classify the triangle as acute, obtuse, or right. Take the two smaller sides, 10 plus 12, and that is greater than 16. So yes, it can be a triangle. Using the Pythagorean inequality, we find that 10 squared plus 12 squared is less than 16 squared. So what we're dealing with here is an obtuse triangle. A landscaper wants to place a stone walkway from one corner of the rectangular lawn to the opposite corner. What will be the length of the walkway? Round to the nearest inch. What we have is a right triangle, so we're going to use the Pythagorean theorem. So 80 feet squared plus 50 feet squared is equal to the length of the walkway squared. We get 8,900 feet squared is the square of the walkway. So the walkway is the square root of 8,900. Which is approximately 94.33 feet. 94 is the footage. If we take 0.33 and multiply that by 12, we get approximately 4 inches. A yield sign is an equilateral triangle with a side length of 36 inches. What is the height of the sign? round to the nearest inch. We're going to cut that 36 inches in half, and when we do that, we get a 30, 60, 90 triangle. The hypotenuse is going to equal to 8 square roots of 3, because not the hypotenuse, h is the height. The height is 18 square roots of 3, because h is the longer leg. It's opposite the 60 degrees. And so the correct relationship is to take the shorter leg of 18 and multiply by the square root of 3. So I get approximately 31.18 inches, which is about 31 inches. Find the values of the variables. Give your answers in simplest radical form. X is equal to 8 square roots of 2. In a 45, 45, 90, the hypotenuse is always the shortest leg times the square root of 2. And in a 45, 45, 90, the two legs are exactly the same. The second triangle is also a 45, 45, 90, but we're given the hypotenuse. So the correct equation to create is 22 equals x square roots of 2. Divide both sides by the square root of 2, and then rationalize, and we'll end up with 11 square roots of 2. And so that is the value of the two legs. In the 30, 60, 90 triangle, 9 is the longer leg because it's opposite the 60 degrees. So the correct equation to create is 9 equals x square roots of 3. Remember, the longer leg in a 30, 60, 90 triangle is always the shortest leg times the square root of 3. Divide both sides by the square root of 3 and rationalize, and we end up with 3 square roots of 3. Now the hypotenuse is y, and the relationship says that the hypotenuse is always twice the shortest leg. So y is equal to 2x. Substituting for x, we get that's equal to 2 times 3 square roots of 3, and so finally we get y is equal to 6 square roots of 3. Miss Mittens is lounging indoors today. The bird cage is 6 feet tall. If the angle formed from Miss Mittens to the top of the bird cage is 60 degrees, how far away is Miss Mittens from the base of the bird cage? Round your answer to the nearest tenth. Now this is not a trick question. I do know that the bird cage looks to be the shortest leg, but you've got to remember, it's opposite the 60 degrees. So despite what the triangle looks like, the actual longest or the shortest leg is the distance from Miss Mittens to the cage at the base. So you've got to remember, since the cage is 6 feet tall, this is the longest leg. The shortest leg is from Miss Mittens to the base of the cage. 6 feet, x feet. So the correct relationship is to say that 6 is equal to x square roots of 3. Divide both sides by the square root of 3 and rationalize. So Miss Mittens is 2 square roots of 3 feet away, which is approximately 3.46 feet. Rounding up, I get about 3.5 feet. All right, that concludes the quiz for 5.6 through 5.8. God bless you, wherever you are today.